Hey guys, Bike here, and today I'm coming at you with another video on Last Epoch. And today, the subject of today's video is the Sentinel class and the Paladin mastery. We recently hit level 100 with Paladin, and I gotta say, it's been a blast. Little backstory here. I made it to level 98 primarily playing Warpath. I made it to like level 80 something, basically around empowered monoliths, 100 corruption, playing my own sort of warpath build, which was slap a judgment on the ground, spin on top of their heads, and maybe smack them with a vengeance to get that temporary damage reduction that you get from the ability. But ultimately I switched the build over to a Warpath build from Dread. If you guys don't know who Dread is, he's a content creator for Last Epoch. He's here on YouTube, he streams on Twitch, he's a cool guy, go check him out. So anyway, I used Dread's Warpath video and build, excuse me, and that one went pretty well for a while. Made it to level 98, but ultimately I couldn't find the right pieces of gear. It did require semi-decent amount of uniques, and I couldn't get like the right rolls, and I just felt like I didn't have a lot of survivability with the particular build, so ultimately I moved away from it to Nova Hammerdin, which I got this build from Volca. He's another content creator here on YouTube, and he streams on Twitch. He's a cool guy, go check him out, of course. So I used Nova Hammerdin, and I made it from level 98 to level 100. And when I was doing Warpath, even with Dread's build, we were just kissing 200 corruption. With the Nova Hammerdin, we were able to push way past that, and we eventually made it all the way to 400 corruption. A little over 400 corruption, like 406 corruption. And that was pretty cool. We also made it on the leaderboards for Arena on the SSF or SAF, solo account found. That's what Last Epoch calls them. So we made it onto those leaderboards with this particular build, and it feels pretty good. This was a good outing for our first class. We're going to be moving on over to Necromancer now for our next deep dive. The way I play games like this, I usually latch on to like one thing and I just grind the ever-living snot out of it for a while, and then we move on. And that's what we're doing. This was our deep dive into Paladin. So I use these two builds, but there is a plethora of builds out there. There's smites, there's more hammer builds, there's hammer builds that cast smite. The hammers swirl around you, and if they hit enemies, rain smite down from the sky, just I haven't tried those builds out, and I don't know if I ever will. I want to try out just different classes in general at this point, but had a lot of fun with it. So this is kind of my thoughts and conclusions on it. If you want the long and the short of it is, should you play Paladin? The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. I was really disappointed that Diablo 4 did not have Paladin in it. Slight little backstory there. Diablo 4 wasn't even my radar. I had no plans to play it, and a friend of mine hit me up this year right before the open beta and was like, hey, are you gonna be playing the open beta for Diablo 4? I'm like, sure, I'll check it out. And he's like, oh, what class will you play? I'm like, oh, I'll just play Paladin, Crusader, one of those. It's like, it's not in the game. Huh? That was my reaction. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's not in the game. So what class? I'm like, tell me what's in the game. Like, they don't have these classes? Now, to be fair, Diablo 3 didn't have the Crusader at launch, but they added it after 2 years. And that's around the time I started playing Diablo 3. I started playing around Reaper's Souls. I'm sure a lot of people started playing around Reaper's Souls, because pre-Reaper's Souls, I've heard a lot of stuff about Diablo 3. So I just immediately fell in love with the Crusader class back then. It was awesome. So I play Druid, and there's some videos on this YouTube channel going over like my hitting level 100. Here's what my final Druid build was for preseason. I switched over to Barbarian eventually because I wanted to do Whirlwind, and we got a video here on the channel. Anyway, I doubt any of them are going to be season 2 viable, so I wouldn't even bother. Nonetheless, when I came over to this game and I saw Paladin was a playable mastery, I almost caught myself there. When I saw it was a playable mastery, I had to do it. And it was my first class, my first mastery, and I've loved it ever since. So yes, the long and the short of it is, yes, you should absolutely play it. If you haven't played the game before and you've decided you're going to get last Epoch and you decided to watch my video about the Paladin breakdown and wondering if you should play this class, yeah, this should be your first class if you haven't played it. I would highly recommend you go check it out. It is tanky. It's got built-in healing if you want to use that, though. I will say, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of in-game builds don't use like the built-in heal yourself on demand. A lot of them use like passive regeneration healing, or the most common one I saw was leech, which is basically you do damage and heal back a percentage of the damage that you dealt as health. That was the most common one. Both Warpath and Nova Hammer didn't utilize that, so. But nonetheless, that option is there if you just want to explore. If you don't want to follow any guides, I myself got to like the true in-game, not even just basic monoliths. I got to empowered monoliths, 100 corruption, just doing random stuff that I thought was cool with the build. Like, this is a strong class to check out for sure. I would say though, my one slight little gripe, I feel like to be truly effective, you can't go straight Paladin, and this is a total bike problem here. This is totally me, because I made it to in-game empowered monoliths going just enough points into Sentinel and then the rest of my points into Paladin, and I was dying. And that's when people were pointing out, hey, like, do you know that you can dip into other master trees? Yes, I know I can dip into other master trees, but I want to be a paladin. I want to be a warrior. They're like, no, just dip into Void Knight and get volatile reversal. I do feel like that's, I mean, it's a cool ability, but at the same time, it's literally in every Sentinel build, I feel like, is this Void Knight ability. It dictates the amount of damage, the amount of survivability, everything is from this ability from the Void Knight tree. I feel like it kind of, I'm not going to say infects, but it's strongly used in every build. If you're a Paladin, a Forge Guard, a Void Knight, it uses this key Void Knight ability. And like I said, that's a bike problem. I like the theme of Paladins, and here I was using this Void Knight ability to actually progress in the game, because originally I wasn't, because I was going pure Paladin, remember that. But yeah, I mean, the ability's cool, and it definitely increases your survivability by a lot. So unfortunately, if you're going to be playing the game and you want to be like pushing some meaningful in-game, you probably got to take it. I really wanted to do the whole heal myself through my abilities as I'm doing damage, and ultimately, as I said earlier, I settled on leech. I wasn't really healing myself with my abilities as much. I was just leeching the amount of damage I was doing back and getting health for that, which is something that I feel like every class can use. So again, that felt like there went one less theme. But nonetheless, I feel like this is kind of like core to the game itself. Like, I feel like a lot of classes dip into other masteries. I've looked at some other classes, I've looked at some other masteries and some other builds, and it definitely seems like a lot of builds do this. They dip into other trees, and me personally being a stickler for themes and, you know, the gravitas, all of that, it did seem a little weird that in order to become the most effective Paladin, most effective Void Knight, most effective Forge Guard, etc., I had to go take abilities from these other masteries to become the most effective mastery of my own. That's probably on me, but that's kind of a last Epoch thing altogether. But nonetheless, they have the ability to heal. Probably the most key ability that Paladins get that sets them apart from all the other Sentinel classes is the Holy Aura. I would definitely, well, if you're playing Paladin, you're taking Holy Aura. It is super powerful. It gives you this aura, as the name implies, gives you this aura that if you're playing with others, they're affected by the aura as well. This is very thematic for Paladins in general. Going to Dungeons and Dragons, going to World of Warcraft, this aura that kind of inspires and empowers your allies with these abilities. This is key to just about every Paladin build. I don't think there's a single Paladin build out there that doesn't take Holy Aura. And only Paladins can get this. This is like their every mastery in the game gets like one keystone ability that only they can use for sure. Well, technically they get 3 because, okay, if you haven't played the game yet, every class you choose, every mastery you choose, you get full access to their entire skill tree. But if you want to dip into another mastery, you only get access to half. And in most cases, there's 5 abilities, not necessarily true for every class, but there's typically 5 abilities exclusive to that tree. You can normally only take 2 or maybe 3 at max in another tree because you only get access to half the tree. If that doesn't make sense, then maybe check out the game, or I can try and show you. Come by the channel. I've been streaming the game a lot. Twitch.tv/BabblingBike. Schedule in the description down below. And I can explain it and show you in person, but nonetheless, this particular ability is exclusive to Paladins, so if you want to use Holy Aura, you have to play Paladin. Unlike my previous gripe with the Void, being a Paladin dipping into Void Knight to get Volatile Reversal, there's no way you can be a Void Knight and dip into Paladin to get Holy Aura. It's impossible because it's only available to Paladins, and I would say that is the perfect keystone Paladin ability. It influences everything, and the cool thing is you can activate it, and whatever you got your Holy Aura set up as, you get double. Excuse me. You get double whatever the passive abilities are. If you're getting like an extra 24% elemental resistance, you press the button, bam, for the next few seconds, you have 48% extra elemental resistance. If you're looking at healing, like healing effectiveness or health regen, that's the one right there. You activate the ability, all of a sudden your healing regeneration is doubled. Again, you don't really use that one too much in the end game, but nonetheless, if you're into just healing for forever, you can take this ability, press the button every once in a while, and you gain double. And another common Paladin ability that, with my gripe with the Void Knight, I feel like the other Sentinel classes do this as well. They dip into Paladin to get Sigils of Hope, which is another sort of passive ability. You can have up to 5 of these, but base level you get 3, and they're like these little floating sigils, in the name, that float around you that give you passive abilities. And as long as you got one of these, you'll get X number of passive ability points, increased damage, healing effectiveness, resistance, that sort of thing, per one of these that's floating around you. And you can have up to 5, though most builds revolve around taking 4. And so you got these floating around you. It's another kind of deals with the theme of Paladin, just this passive enhancement of your abilities. That's one reason why I like Paladin a lot. I don't want to think too much about it. I just take these passive abilities that just buff me, and I can focus on one or two abilities. I think I'm going to close out the video here. Yes, you should definitely go check it out. The builds out there are great. I love the themes. I love the thematics. Yes, you most likely will have to take Volatile Reversal for just about every build you do, but that's fine, because if you're playing Void Knight, you probably got to take at least Sigils of Hope. If you're playing Forge Guard, you're probably taking Sigils of Hope. So, nonetheless, Paladin, yes, you should definitely go check it out. I love the class. If I could give it a grade, I would give it A+, if not S. I'm going to say A+ for now, because there was some squishiness issues I had, but I think that's just endemic to all Sentinels, and that's another video for another time. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. You guys have yourself a good one. You take care. Cheers.